G'day guys, and welcome back to the weekly VEMA Trader Bitcoin market scan. My name is Rhys, and in today's video I'm going to run you guys through the trades that we set up last week. We'll go and take a look at them and we'll see how they played out. Then what we'll do is we'll take a look at Bitcoin as it stands today. I'll see if there's any trades that I like the look of, and if there is, I will set those trades up. So what we'll do is we'll head to VEMA Trader and we'll get started. Righto, so there was 3 trades that we set up last week. I'm going to cover 2 just here because they were very similar trades. We had a short from Charlie and a short from Alpha. Price didn't make it up to either of those zones. I do have an expiry date still sitting and waiting, but the fact that we've now broken this low, I'm going to stop these trades from monitoring. So I'm going to delete these trades. And the 3rd trade that we set up last week was a short on the breakdown of these 2 demand zones. So we set up a short cross with the candle close condition from Bravo, and we got that entry just last week. It was a big move through Bravo, so we actually ended up getting an entry a fair way down, just because it didn't close until well below, but that's okay. That's how these things go. That's why we had our minimum risk reward down at 1.5 to 1 instead of the 2 to 1 that I usually use, because there is more confirmation on this trade. I'm happy to reduce my minimum risk reward a bit. I have moved the stop into profit because we had this market structure form and then we sold out of that. So I don't really want to be keeping my stop back up. I think it was above this EQ. So keeping my stop back up here, if price is going to break this structure, then I would rather just get out of the trade. I might look to take another short somewhere else, but I don't want to just see price come up and, stop me out for an entire loss when I can quite comfortably put my stop above market structure, slightly in profit. So happy to have the stop loss in profit. In terms of the take profit, it's still down above this daily demand zone. I'm happy to leave it there for now. Excuse me. Happy to leave it there for now. If we do sort of come down here again, I'll move the stop down, and if we get down towards here, I'll probably just slam it right down, lock in that 1 to 1, and either let it hit my stop loss for a 1 to 1 gain or hit the take profit for a 1.5 to 1 gain. Either way, quite happy with that. One cool thing to note on this trade is fibs, right? You'll hear me talk about fibs a lot. I'm a very, very big fan of fibs. If you have a look at this, we set up the fibs last week based on this entire move, right? So you can see the 1 fib is over here, the 0 fib is over here. If we zoom right in and take a look at what has happened as we've come down, you can see how well that negative, I call it the negative 27. I've got my fib set in decimal, I think, rather than percentage, but the negative 0.27 or the negative 27 fib, it's the same sort of thing. You can see how well that has been respected as a target. Like, it is a perfect bounce off that level. You can see the close was exactly on the level. I've been seeing fibs play out for nearly 5 years now. They still amaze me. Seeing things like this, I'm just like, that is the coolest thing. So just something cool to note. But that's it for last week's trade. So what we'll do now is we'll go and take a look at Bitcoin, and we'll see what it looks like today. Righto, so taking a look at Bitcoin as it stands today, we are now looking at the weeklies. So we had not really a bearish engulfing because the candle the week before was quite large, but certainly a very bearish candle. Price opened up here, moved all the way down here and closed there with really no buyback off that drop. Sorry. So, really not a good look for Bitcoin. I spoke last week about how coming to the 23.6 and then rejecting was not a good look for Bitcoin. When I look at the weekly, there's just really nothing that makes me feel bullish on Bitcoin. I do just kind of look at this and go, okay, I'm looking for more downside. People are talking about Mt. Gox. I did see a thing that that's probably not actually the case. A lot of people think Mt. Gox is going to be a heap of Bitcoin released this week. If you don't know what that is, probably best to Google it. It'll be a bit of a long explanation. I've seen conflicting stories. I've seen people saying, there's a couple of $1 billion worth of Bitcoin ready to be released back to Mt. Gox holders this week. And I've seen other people saying that is a blatant lie, including one guy who was a Mt. Gox creditor who was like, no, that's not true at all. It's in the process, but it's not at the point it's going to happen this week. So who knows? I don't really do fundamentals, not really my cup of tea, but something worth keeping an eye on if you are in that sort of fundamental space. So what I really see when I look at this, the main thing, the key takeaway is nothing bullish, essentially, but a really cool follow-on from what we were talking about with last week's trade is the fibs. You can see, that was terrible, drawing fibs on that move there. The minus 27 fib lines up perfectly with the top of this sort of, there's actually technically 2 demand zones in there, but I've just drawn it as one because it's easier. Until price gets down, I don't really care about distinguishing between the 2. So that is kind of cool to see. And it almost, I'm not a big believer in fractals. I hear a lot of people use fractals in what I would probably say is the wrong way, but it almost kind of looks like a fractal, right? What we were just looking at on the 4 hour, if we come down, looked quite similar to what we're seeing right now, right? We had a huge sell-off, really weak recovery, minus 27 fib. So if we come back out to the weekly, we have had huge sell-off, really weak recovery. Could we have the minus 27 fib? In fact, it'll be interesting when we get to the 4 hour. I'll do it now. It'd be interesting to see what fib we came back to on that retracement. How's that? 23.6, right? Exactly where we have just rejected from on the weekly. So, yeah, potentially a bit of a... I really hate using the word fractal, to be honest, but, things look quite similar on the weekly to what we just saw happen on the 4 hour. So, if you want to see that as a pattern, whatever you want to call it, then that would kind of make you think that there might be a chance we're heading to that minus 27 to that sort of $10,000 level for Bitcoin. On the daily, there's not a whole lot of new levels. In fact, there's really only one, and that is this supply zone. So that formed last week. Bit of an odd zone because it's not quite a pivot, not quite a pause. There was a little bit of a retracement. It's kind of in between for me, in between a pivot and a pause, which I haven't seen all that often, but that's how I'm feeling about that one. But what gives me confidence in this zone is a big sell-off out of it. That's always a good indicator that it might be a strong zone. The key level for me is this 19,300, right? This daily demand zone. The top of that, I do think, is probably where we're heading, and potentially, a significant level. Will it lead to a reversal? I'd be kind of surprised to see it, but it wouldn't surprise me to see some sort of a bounce. We could just go straight through it. We did eat into it a fair way when we retested it. It'd be interesting to see. To be honest, I don't really know either way, but I like to take things one step at a time, 2 steps at most, and at the moment I'm kind of just going, okay, to there is what I think is the next move when I look at Bitcoin on the dailies. On the 4 hour at the moment, there's really nothing that I like to look of. For my trading, for the way that I like to do things, I look at this and it's just a little bit ugly. So it's kind of, what is ugly to me is this move here, right? We have a really tight channel to some degree, moving to the downside after a big sell-off. So I like to see channels that move to the upside after a big sell-off. You'll recognize that looks a lot like a bear flag. When they move to the downside, it's just not something that I like to see. It's not something I like to trade. More importantly, I don't really care about seeing it. Doesn't really affect me. But it's not something I like to trade. So I look at this and I think price is probably just going to wilt and head down to this daily supply. There's a sort of a weird 4 hour, 1 hour kind of level down at 19,000. Daily demand. But yeah, sort of that 19 to 19,300 is where I'm thinking price could head. Now, you could draw in some zones here. We had a bit of a pause, right? Price pauses, sells out. You could draw a zone probably there. That's how I draw it. Same thing. Price pauses, dumps. Nothing wrong with those. I just wouldn't bother because I'm not going to use them to trade. They're kind of weaker zones, or I would expect them to be kind of weaker zones. I just wouldn't bother drawing them in. The really key level at the moment is probably this EQ. So you can see it was a really well-respected EQ way back here. Big sell-off, held, bounced. All through here, if I go to line mode, you can sort of see it was really well-respected. We've broken that and retested it. So we broke it, retested, bear hammers, big bearish engulfing. So not a good sign. Even if we were to reclaim it, I wouldn't really be getting super bullish on Bitcoin on the 4 hour because there's a very key EQ here. Again, at sort of 20,768. So I don't see anything on Bitcoin at the moment that makes me feel bullish. And that is it for this week. There's no trades I'm going to set up because I just don't really like the look of the market for my trading. yeah, that's kind of it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully the fibs thing was cool. I always find that very cool, so hopefully you guys do too. Have a great day, happy trading, and I'll talk to you very soon.